Hello, my name is Pise Hua, and I am going to be making a presentation based on crowd mentality, obedience to authority, and social conformity. Alright, our first topic is social mobilization. Second topic is the Asher effect. Third topic is positive crowd mentality. Fourth topic is Stanford Prison Experiment, and our fifth topic is about peer pressure. Okay, so social mobilization is the process of which members of our organization or community come together to solve problems through collaboration and teamwork. It can also be defined as people taking up arms to solve a common problem that would help everyone else. Social media and smartphones are often used for social mobilization, and it's recently the most efficient way of figuring things out. And a lot of the motivation is for a good cause or financial incentive. Okay, the first example of social mobilization in the article 6 Degrees of Mobilization is the Red Balloon Challenge, in which was staged in 2009. Okay, so as I was saying, the Red Balloon Challenge was staged in 2009 by the company named DARPA. It is the research arm of the American Defense Department. Yeah. Anyways, the goal of the challenge was to find 10 red balloons tethered at random locations around the US. The prize money was $40,000. The winning team was led by Manuel Cebrian and Sandy Pentland of MIT. They found all red balloons in just 9 hours. They used a clever strategy by recruiting people to find the balloons, and which each person recruited got around $500 to $1,000 and so on. Another example of social conformity is also by DARPA, another challenge by DARPA, the Tag Challenge. In this challenge, people had to find 5 other people in unique t-shirts in across 2 continents in just under 12 hours. This was much harder than the red balloon because the people would be moving around in crowds and they would blend in pretty well. So, Dr. Rahwan's team built a website to help find these people. They used social media as a way to mobilize an entire makeshift people finding army to find the shirts and help them win the challenge. Although the prize money was lower than the Red Balloon Challenge, it was very effective. Okay, now we will move on to the Asher effect. Yes, which is a tendency for individuals to blindly follow the desire and behavior of the majority, which is a very bad habit. And yeah, you see the stick man following blindly. The aim of the ASH study was to see how real participants react when the majority has a different judgment from themselves. Okay, so the problem of the ASH experiments was that out of 18 trials where the Confederates gave the same wrong answer, about 1/3 of the responses given by the real participants followed their lead and gave the same wrong answer, aka they conformed to the majority. Another problem of this experiment is that it was very difficult for the Confederates to be realistic because they weren't very trained in acting skills or lying, so the participants could easily see through the experiment. But don't worry, there is a solution for this, And the solution was brought to us by two Japanese psychologists. Okay, the names. Kazao Mori and Miho Arai. Okay. Okay, they found a solution to ASH experiments study. So they had 4 participants in each group. 3 participants wore identical glasses and 1 wore a different set of glasses. The effect was that a different comparison line matched the target line. The advantage was that the majority was no longer the confederate of the experiments because they were all giving genuine and accurate answers based on their own judgment and visual, and based on their own judgment. So in ASH experiments, the participants had stated their judgments out loud. In ASH study, the participants stated their judgments out loud, with one participant wearing different glasses, always going third. The participants were also asked to complete a questionnaire after the study, recording various factors that would later be used to assess why conformity rates might be high or low. Okay, now we move on to the results. So, in Mori and Arai's replication of the experiments, they found that both male and female were tested. And this led to finding that for female participants, the level of conformity matched the finding in ASH's original research, while over a third of the responses confirmed to the view of majority. However, in the male participants, they were not swayed by the majority, and the conformity rates were very low. In the groups where the conformity rates were high, the participants all knew each other, and in the groups where the conformity was low, the participants were all strangers. Okay, we're moving to positive crowd mentality. So, as Gustave Le Bon argued, the power of a crowd was enough to swallow a person's individual identity, leaving behind a shell. Not like hypnosis, but pretty close. So, according to the article, How Being a Part of a Crowd Can Change You for the Better, crowds have always had a bad reputation because of, herd mentality and how people just focus on the group instead of their individual selves. And this can be a very negative thing if the group's goal is something bad or ignorant. Alright, so in 2010, a review paper titled The Social Psychology of Protest, a team of psychologists argued that protests can be a form of validation. They say that it illuminates the stakes of anger and gives the human face sort of a purpose, a goal. And this goal and purpose helps them identify with others and accompanies and makes them feel closer to other people and gives them a comfort that they're all going and fighting for the same goal. And as writer Amanda Crowell recently put in quotes, meeting other protesters, hearing their stories, and laughing together helps individuals feel like their personal futures are intertwined with the groups, and it can be gravitating when your emotions sync up for a broader purpose. So essentially, the idea of positive crowd mentality is saying that if the cause is good and just, then go for it. Here is our fourth topic, which is the Stanford Prison Experiment. Okay. Here it is. So, in August 1971, a group of students were arrested and hauled to Stanford County Prison, which in reality was the basement of a psychology building of Stanford University in California. So anyways, a coin flip was tossed, and it randomly assigned prisoners, guards, and the basement had makeshift cells with a janitor cupboard acting as the hole for solitary confinement. The students, mostly men, were willing to but they had not been warned of the mock arrest and the exact nature of the treatment they were about to endure. This experiment breached some ethics and was very socially questionable, but it still went on. But Zimbardo still kept it on. He only called it off. He called it off 2 weeks later when things got too far. 2 weeks earlier when things got too far. Okay, so in Zimbardo's words, the Stanford prison experiment was all about the ability for a system to repeatedly create situations that would strongly influence behavior. Based on the observations he made of the interaction between the fake guards and inmates, Zimbardo concluded that holding the position of power could quickly make normal people act like tyrants and change the way a good person thinks because of all the power going to their head. And that would be the result of the prison experiment. Hello, we are almost done. This is our very last topic, something we can all relate to and agree with, that we've all fallen under: peer pressure. So, groups and their powers can enhance a team performance when cohesive trust is and communication and cooperation is brought onto the table. But they also have the opposite effect. Group thinking can lead to bad decisions, especially among teenagers, because we all make bad decisions and we all follow people who make bad decisions because peer pressure. Anyways, but does not mean that standing alone is the solution, because isolation and ostracism can also trigger lone wolves. The verdict is that we should have a safe balance of a group and individual activities. There should be a certain fine scale line that we all should have. We should all blend ourselves in both individual activities and group activities without being completely consumed by one or the other. That is essentially the way to avoid peer pressure without being completely isolated and away from all your peers. This is my works cited page. We have the article of from Brenton about peer pressure. We have another article about the Asherick effect. We have an article about crowd mentality, the positive part of it, and we have the Stanford prison experiment, and we also have social mobilization. Thank you for watching my video, and I hope that this makes you think about and spot different ways of social conformity in your everyday life. Bye bye.